Ready? Hello, hello. Today we're going to answer a bunch of questions, probably a couple hours worth, that were submitted to us on Instagram. If you somehow are following us first through YouTube and not Instagram,
welcome.
Yeah,
thanks for being here.
Yeah, that's what we want. So, but you should follow our Instagram. We do our more personal outreach that way. For the record, these are non-alcoholic. YouTube, please don't demonetize us. This is just Sprite.
This is Gatorade.
Yeah. So we're going to go through a ridiculous amount of questions and just kind of talk at you for a while. So if you're one of the people who likes to listen to us while you're at work and you give us watch hours, we love you. All right, first one, kick it off strong. Describe your favorite anime manga characters with an album. So
you want to start like lower or higher?
At the top. We'll just start at the top.
Okay.
Our favorite character is Ange from Umineko.
Beautiful.
I would compare her to Pure Comedy by Father John Misty.
I don't really think she fits that. I think she's more Reputation by Taylor Swift.
Wow.
Do you have a problem with that?
No, I don't. Pure Comedy is kind of like an outline for what Ange's arc is.
Okay.
Yeah. Next up, we'll do Shinji next.
Yeah, I mean, Shinji's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's kind of like 1989 by Taylor Swift.
That's valid. Yeah.
That'd be my pick.
Sure. I would go with In the Aeroplane Over the Sea, which is my favorite album. Ava and Aeroplane are essentially the same story, which maybe someone finds that weird, but I don't know. I've talked about that a bunch of times.
No, I agree. I think that's similar. I mean, he fits 1989 significantly more, but like I definitely understand your take.
Yeah. We'll go with Utena Tenju, who I would compare to Geek the Girl by Lisa Germano.
How would you say that fits? I'm unsure here.
The like thematic conflicts of the album with her sense of gender and what her gender means to her, and the reconciliation she makes at the end are very similar. It ends up being in the same way that Utena is very Ava-ish.
Yeah.
In terms of the sort of hedgehog dilemma conflict and what she learns about connection over pain.
Yeah.
Is also founded in Lisa Germano, but with a similar sense of divorce from Aeroplane as Evangelion has from
In the Aeroplane Over the Sea.
Yes.
That's valid. Yeah. I'd say for me at least Utena is more like Lover by Taylor Swift.
That makes sense. How would you say that? Okay. Next up, we'll go with Michel Boulanger from The House in Fata Morgana. I would compare him to really just Kendrick's catalog.
Yeah.
Kendrick's conflicts and Fata's conflicts are pretty damn similar.
That's
then Morgana is very similar to East by Joanna Newsom as well.
Valid?
It's funny that my favorite albums and my favorite characters tend to just line up super well.
That's valid.
Although Masashi is one of my favorites, and I just compare him to Lift Your Skinny Fist Like Antennas to Heaven, which I can't really explain at all. I just listen to it while reading the manga.
That's fair. For me, I'd compare like Michelle to Folklore by Taylor Swift and Morgana to Red by Taylor Swift. Yeah.
I feel that one.
Yeah,
her hair is red.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Oh, valid.
Red's also, an album about like heartbreak and kind of like there's a lot of bitterness on Red, and I feel like Morgana like embodies that energy. Yeah.
Nice.
And then you brought up Musashi personally. I'm gonna switch it up here. I'm gonna go with Midnights by Taylor Swift.
That's fair. I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty midnight, I would say.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we'll do this question: top 10 hip hop albums of all time. So I have quite the spiel for this. My first point I want to make is it's really difficult to address this without sounding like a stan or like I'm being reductive to the art form. Because anyone could make a list that would appease any big rap fan and they wouldn't get questioned at all. I can very easily make a top 10 hip-hop albums list and say, oh yeah, it's To Pimp a Butterfly, Mad Villainy, Illmatic, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, Aquemini, maybe throw in like a couple more niche picks that are more you, but really just don't disturb the piece too much.
Yeah.
The problem with that is those lists are bad. They not only do they lack personality, and they're more representative of the art form than they are any individual's interpretation or perspective on it and what makes it good, especially to them. There's no sense of it being personal at all.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So that you can see that conflict most prominently for me with Mad Villainy. Mad Villainy is one of my favorite rap albums of all time. If I'm looking at rap as the technical art form of rap, like performing rap as the art rather than just being a means of storytelling, of self-expression, then Mad Villainy is the best rap album to me. I think it's the best produced and rapped rap album. But what I look for in art predominantly is exploration of ideas and emotions in some sort of tangible way that leads to a statement that leaves a lasting impact on me. Mad Villainy doesn't do that at all. On that front, Mad Villainy is a 0.
That's valid.
And I love Mad Villainy. It's one of my favorite albums ever, and I appreciate it for what it does, but it would be very inconsistent and not really make a whole ton of sense for me. It kind of just breaks your whole sense of criteria and what your list is trying to say. At that point, you're just saying, I like this because blank, which is fine. But the bigger problem, rather than the list being representations rather than personal effects, is Kendrick Lamar exists, right? For whatever reason, in music, especially in music or in art forms where the creation process for each major work is shorter, right?
Yeah.
As compared to books. You'll never see a book list that has a number of entries in a top 10 or a top 20 by one artist because it takes a really long time to write a masterwork book.
Well, it seems it's pretty common for Crime and Punishment and Karamazov to be there.
Sure, yeah. You have Tolstoy, and you have Dostoevsky, who will sometimes get, not really, who will sometimes get multiple entries in a top 10 books list, right? And sometimes films will do that. They'll get multiple entries in a top 10 list because it is similar in terms of length. Yeah. But you'll never see somebody make 2 shows and have both of those shows be entered in top 10s, except for Vince Gilligan. But that's a different conversation altogether because shows are just a much more limited art form in terms of how much has been created than the other mediums.
Yes.
But the point I'm trying to make is if you were to take something like sports, right? The best of the best tend to create the best of the best. The best athletes are going to have the best performances. If you look at the top 10 statistical hockey seasons of all time, they are, I believe, 9 of them, or maybe all 10 of them, in terms of total points or whatever metric you really want to use, are all Wayne Gretzky, because he's just the best hockey player. He's better than everybody else, so of course he has the best efforts. He's more dominant than really any athlete in their sports. That's not true. There are some individual athlete sports who are more dominant. But if you look at basketball, you're going to have the top 10 seasons, aside from Wilt's playing against 60s players while being 7 feet tall and athletic freak. If we ignore Wilt, then if we go on like PER, the more advanced metrics, you're just going to see a bunch of LeBron and Jordan seasons. It makes sense that the best artists are going to create the best work. So in looking at a top 10 hip-hop albums list, you get, in my mind, at least 3 Kendrick albums. Because as I just defined my art criteria, he's better at that than any other rapper.
That's fair.
Nice.
What would be your list here? As for your list.
I don't have a ranked top 10 hip hop albums list at the moment. I would include at least 3 Kendrick albums. I would be including some rap songs, Spiral Sweatshirt in there.
Valid.
I'd be including By the Time I Get to Phoenix by Injury Reserve in there. What else would I want to include? I'd probably put Undone by The Roots in there.
That's valid.
Yeah, I like Undone a lot.
Yeah.
But I think that in top 10 lists in general, for an entire art form, you're usually going to get these either strange lightning in a bottle strokes of absolute genius that feel like magic happened somewhere, or you're going to get the culmination of creative efforts in one of the best artists of the art form's career.
For sure.
So in that, you're going to, in my mind, tend towards newer rap albums as the best in the genre. So if you look at something like Undone, that's why I said that. Undone is not really a culminative work of Black Thought's career. It's more just the most refined, nuanced perspective of a lot of what he's been doing over his career. But it is a 2010s rap album by 90s hip hop artist, as most people would think of it. What else would I include in there? Not really sure.
That's fair.
I need to go through Billy Woods with a more fine-tooth comb. From the probably too vague perspective I have on his arts and his career, he is almost certainly the second best rapper.
Sure.
But I would not be able to defend that point to the level of nuance that I would like to. That's why I'm saying probably and not just claiming this. So probably at least one Billy Woods album, probably Ethiopia's, probably a Quell Chris album. Maybe I'd pick a Kanye album. I know you're really big on Donda. I've still listened to it once.
That's fair.
To be honest, I kind of am just a dark fantasy guy at the moment.
That's fair.
You don't agree with me at all.
Well, okay. for me, if I were to do my best rap albums list, because like I agree with your points.
Yeah,
I'd have like To Pimp a Butterfly.
I thought you were gonna say 1989 Red.
I'd have like To Pimp a Butterfly and like a Clementine and like Illmatic and like like the more underground stuff like Mad Villainy and like My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
Oh, would you?
Nice. No, that would be funny if I did Taylor Swift's catalog. Yeah. But no.
Probably try to pick Mafia album, but I'm sort of in the same, to a less degree, I'm more familiar with JPEG Mafia's catalog than Billy Woods in terms of understanding on a nuanced perspective, but I'm not sure if I really want to pin down which album I would pick. But yeah, he's really been killing it lately, and I cannot really see any argument from leaving him off of a top 10 rappers list at this point.
Fair.
He just simply is.
That's valid.
But, yep. All right.
But yeah, I like Donda the most out of Kanye's work since we were trying to get at that, but
Yeah,
I wanted
that's
to make
fair.
my joke.
Yes, that's fair. I understand.
It's weird because you were talking about like the culmination of an artist that's been doing so much like throughout their career.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, Donda like is that culmination of everything that has come before. The only problem is like it's weird when you start like looking at Kanye as like a person and Kanye like as represented through his music, and he has released some music since it was just all bad and stupid and like related to what he's been saying now like more recently, right?
Yeah, he's released a couple singles, like him and like T.I. or something, going back and forth about all of his crazy nonsense he thinks nowadays.
Yeah. So it's like it's tough because if you're gonna look at like Kanye's discography, it's like after Donda, he kind of like undermines a lot of the meaning I'm finding in Donda, and also like Kanye as a person is like also undermining that meaning.
Yeah.
Or it is like very much something that's like documenting his life, and like to provide some sort of structure to what he's talking about in the albums, you kind of have to look at what was going on in his life at the time, and yet if you could just like cut it at Donda, like this is a meaningful conclusion, if you will. It's just like it's tricky.
It is tricky. I agree. All
Yeah,
right.
Morale's the best album, period.
Wow.
Anyway.
Moving on. So we'll go back to the beginning here. So thoughts on Modest Mouse. I'm pretty confident that they are one of the best bands, but I need to do a more thorough digging through their catalog. They're in a similar space, as I've been saying, for other artists throughout this video. I haven't been digging into music in an analytical way as much as I had in the past. At one point, I had a coherent understanding of their main two albums, Lonesome Crowded West and The Moon in Antarctica. But at the moment, I couldn't really explain to you the mechanics of how those albums develop thematically. And I would need to do that for me to feel good about making a strong statement on them. But this will be my project for the week, is to go through Modest Mouse and have some sort of opinion by the end of the week, or next week, as this is Thursday. Let's see. How would you like Succession to end? So you haven't watched Succession,
No.
but you have an opinion on how it should end, right?
Of course.
Of course.
Of course I do.
Yeah. You
I
think
think-
that Kendall and Logan should fight to the death. And Logan wins, and it just says capitalism consumes everything.
Personally.
That's your opinion.
Yeah. Well, I could see that working. Personally, I'd honestly prefer if Kendall just like soothed Logan with his sweet voice, and then Logan just like calmed down.
Have you heard his rapping performance?
No.
You should.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, then you should have mentioned that in the last question.
I should have, yeah. Top 10 rap albums.
Of course.
Kendall Roy. Dedication to Logan.
Absolutely.
How
I did hear that. That was hysterical.
What I'd actually like Succession to end with is Kendall being afforded the opportunity at the position and denying it.
Hmm.
That is what I'm hoping for as the ending of Succession.
It's valid.
I don't know who I hope gets it.
No.
I guess Roman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah. Just because he says, "What are all you fucky people doing?" And that makes me laugh every time.
That's right.
Who is your favorite world/religious leader, dead or alive, for a history project? I don't want to answer it because I said for a history project. Otherwise, I would have answered it. I want to do people's homework.
No, this would be an interesting question that we would have talked about. But,
Yeah.
we're not going to do your homework.
Yeah, we don't want to do your homework.
Just go to, ChatGPT.
Yeah. What's on your read list for manga? Do you have any manga you're interested in? I kind of want to do Tokyo Ghoul.
Yeah.
It's not immediate priority, but I will read it at some point. Is there anything you want to do?
One day I'd like to get back to Pandora Hearts.
Oh, that's fair.
Do,
I'll do that someday too.
I'd like to do Chihaya Faru.
Sure.
I'd like to do Yona of the Dawn. I think those would probably be the three that I've been thinking about the most.
Yes. I'll probably do Joe someday, but I'm not super set on it. There's nothing that you find boring that I find entertaining, and you.
Joe?
Yeah, Ashita no Joe.
Oh!
Yeah, and you said it was really boring to start off with.
Oh, yeah.
I would struggle with that.
That's fair.
Yep. Well, there can't be more boring than The World Is Mine at the beginning. That's just blocked out. There's nothing that's more boring than The World Is Mine at the beginning.
Of course not.
Let's see.
All right, hold on. I'm getting my blue Gatorade.
Nice. What's the Death Grips ranking nowadays? Have you listened to all of Death Grips?
Nope.
All right. I would go the powers that be, then ex-military, and then the money store, and then steroids, then bottomless pit, then no love deep web, and then am I missing anything?
My favorite's actually No Love Deep Web.
Just because the album cover.
Yeah, I've never heard the album.
That's fair. And then you're
It's
the
given me
snitch.
more joy
than
than
any other Death Grips
other
albums.
records.
Unreasonable. Very unreasonable. Could you see Blackflaw challenging Kenny for GOAT? If not, he should be second. To be honest with you, I don't think there is a GOAT rapper argument at all. It's just pure silliness to me. I think that I'm going to post a best all artists, all medium list pretty soon, and you're going to see just how far apart I think it is based on that list. But Blackflaw's probably my top 5. He's great.
What's about?
So
I've only heard Done.
reasonable. Yeah, he's just consistently good. He's the best 90s rapper.
Yeah.
I think that Mos Def probably would be if he did more stuff,
Mhm.
but he just doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Any plans to review non-fictional/philosophy works? Not really.
I don't know if I'd review them. Maybe if I read
I wanna
them,
read them,
I'd
but-
might talk about them on my story a little bit.
I
But
think I'd
I don't
rank
think
them.
I'd do no, I wouldn't rank them.
Yeah.
Actually, I'd probably say what my favorites are.
Sure.
If I read a bunch, I'd probably.
I don't think I'd compare them to fictional stuff.
No, honestly, probably. But no, I wouldn't compare them.
Unless
to
they're
fictional
working in a
stuff.
similar effect.
I would. I think I would have a divide.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why Utena's climax greater than Shinji's climax? Why do you think that, Mr. Scott?
They're basically even, so it's kind of a tricky question here. I'm a little more partial to Utena in. I think the emotional investment we have in Utena and Anthe's relationship is making up for the
Slightly
difference
less-
in detail
yeah.
of going through Utena. We don't go through Utena's thoughts on explicitly with words as much as we do with Shinji, but I think that both the greater amount of emotional investment that I have in her relationships, as well as the more intricate dynamics that are at play during the climax, the dynamics between the characters that are at play during the climax, does add a level of that intricate detail that just isn't said in words per se, but is definitely still present. So I would take Utena's by a hair.
Nice.
Yeah.
Songs that exemplify the purest form of hip-hop. Example, New York State of Mind, Cream, or any Mos Def. So I actually have 2 songs that I think of as the definitive hip-hop songs.
Yes.
Any guesses what they are?
Do I have guesses?
Yeah.
Wow, I get the honors?
Yeah, you get the honors of guessing my opinion.
Wow.
What do you think? Or if you want to answer the question.
Quintessential.
I'll
So we're saying
I'll let
quintessential,
you.
embodies hip-hop.
embodies hip hop, like as a genre, as an art form, as a culture.
And your answers.
I have two answers that I see as, I guess, definitive of a more traditional sense of the art form and a newer sense of the art form.
I had two answers in my mind, and you kind of like made
Split
me,
it there. You had
no,
two- oh.
no, you made me like more confident. I don't necessarily think I'm right, but my guesses for you are Figaro and Mad City.
No, neither
Damn
of
it.
those. Yeah, I didn't even consider those ones. Those were shit guesses, Scott. No, my two songs I think exemplify hip hop are "Shook Ones" Part 2.
Okay.
I see that as the definitive '90s rap song. It is everything that '90s rap is meant to be. It is the sort of core of the art form, both stylistically and in terms of its content.
Mhm.
And "Heartless" by Kanye.
Okay.
Which I see as the most influential, important song made in hip hop in terms of the progression of the genre, and definitive of what newer hip hop had come to be.
All right.
Make sense?
Yeah, no, I see your perspective here.
You're supposed to tell me those are shit takes.
Come
on.
Those are shit takes.
Thanks, dog. What?
Anytime.
That's a good one. What mid works of art have impacted you / influenced you the most?
So like this is a weird question because we actually, it's funny, we talked about this question earlier. We have the answer that came to our minds, like, is it really mid, which is kind of the problem, because the problem is if it was mid, it wouldn't have impacted our
us, yeah.
lives.
Yeah.
The only way is like if we did it in like childhood or something, but like, and that is the case here. So
Yeah.
I mean, it seems our answer is
Spider-Man 94.
yeah,
The problem with Spider-Man 94 is it's
pretty good.
It's pretty good, and it's better than a lot of things that are highly... Spider-Man 94 is better than Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it is. I prefer Peter's arc than any Hunter x Hunter characters.
That's fair.
Hunter x Hunter's obviously...
Any Hunter x Hunter's character. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure Leorio was really giving him a run for his money.
Who is? Leorio?
Any Hunter x Hunter
Okay.
character.
But no, I think that Spider-Man 94 is the strongest example of Spider-Man's character conflicts coming to its fruition. Most people, anyone who's
none of us have read the comics, so like
that's fair.
It's probably-
in
it's
terms
probably
of like
in that,
movie
yeah.
Spider-Man or
Adaptations.
other shows. Yeah, I haven't read I've read a few comics, but I was pretty young, so that's valid.
yeah, 94 second.
Mid, yeah. I don't know. My favorite mid work of art is Archer, but I just like it because it's funny and relatable. I don't really know if I'd call it mid. I mean, in terms of the ideals of art I just expressed, it's pretty mid. But I love it anyways, so I don't really care. At the end of the day, me loving it matters more.
That's so valid.
Top 5 characters between Steel Bull Run and Jojolian. So, of course, Johnny Joestar is the best by a lot.
Yep. Then John, obviously.
I was going to ask you if you preferred Gyro or Joe Skate.
I do prefer Gyro.
I don't remember who I put higher on my list. I had them pretty close to each other.
I believe you put Josuke first.
but-
Not first, but both over Gyro.
Over Gyro?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could go either way there. I don't really care.
Fair.
After that, who's fourth?
Yes.
Okay. And next, like Jobin?
Jobin's bad.
Who are we going to say, though? Should we distinguish our villain thing?
I take Ringo as a character over
Ringo.
Jobin.
Yeah, I forgot about Ringo. Yeah. I would also take Ringo as a character. Sure. We differentiate characters and villains. There's another question where I'd rather get into that on, so we'll save that for later. How or when does Utena get really good? I'm on episode 19 and I'm interested, but peak character?
It's good the whole time. No, it's not. I mean, it's like setting up stuff the whole time. I'm glad you're invested. That is a good sign.
If you're enjoying it already at episode 19, you're on track to be very pleasantly surprised. Most people think it's bad until episode 33.
Yeah. 33 is like it's still like one thing. It's not like as crazy as some other turning points that you'll hear of, but it's like a bit of a turning point, and like things are going to get a little faster at around 33. In terms of what I'd say is, what I kind of like to say is that like 23 or 24 is kind of like the end of the prologue.
That's fair.
So
Yeah.
if you hit like 23 or 24 and then you're like, okay, the show that you were imagining when you hear what we talk about regarding Utena is starting.
Yeah.
The rest is setting up for that.
Valid. Ranking of Zelda games. What's your ranking of Zelda games?
I'd go Majora's Mask.
Okay.
Then, sleeper pick here. Skyward Sword.
Really? Second?
Yeah, Skyward Sword, second.
Nice.
I think
Okay,
it sets up the entire...
I can't say I agree, but okay.
Okay, but it's interesting because like
It sets up the lore.
It sets up the lore, but you've
Okay.
been like attached to like this world and these characters for so long, and it's like you see how it's set up, but like
Okay.
you see how different things. It has a lot of recontextualization. It's fantastic.
Yep.
Then obviously classic Ocarina of Time. You know, got to do it.
Got it.
Then this is a weird one: Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks. I'm counting as one entry, right? I'm
Okay.
putting it next.
It's the
And-
thematic culmination of Wind Waker.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Exactly. And then I'm going with Twilight Princess. I know you like that one.
I do
more than
like
me,
that
but
one a little
I
more
go
than you,
Twilight
yeah.
Princess right there.
Yep.
Then Breath of the Wild. I know people really like that one, but I'm putting it there. I'm a classic Zelda fan. Then right after that, I'm going Link to the Past. And
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I respect that pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've only played Breath of the Wild.
I was about to ask you, how many Zelda games have you played? So
Well, this was pretty good, though,
it
wasn't
was interesting. It was interesting. I've played pretty much every mainline Zelda game. I think that the sort of core four of Zelda, as I see it, which are Ocarina, Majora's, Twilight Princess, and Wind Waker, I don't really have that much of a problem of ranking that in any order. I played Twilight Princess first out of those four, which is weird to have played first. So it is my favorite, but I think a lot of that is by virtue of it being first. And it also just has the best story. Majora's Mask maybe has the most interesting thematic content, but it's just less. It's more lane than Twilight Princess is.
I see.
It's less direct. It's less contained. It's way more coherent than lane, of course. But I'm okay with any order of that. My personal order at the moment goes Twilight Princess, Majora's Wind Waker, then Ocarina. But this is like we're splitting hairs here. Breath of the Wild is next. I think that mechanically it is the most interesting game. I think that the sense of exploration and wonder in it is about as good as you can possibly get in video games. I absolutely adore the way that they do the weapon system and that it pushes you towards exploration.
Absolutely.
I hate the open worldiness of Elden Ring. It added nothing to me, for me, because I had no real incentive to explore, especially being someone who's online a lot and I see stuff about the game. I knew there weren't really any cool, fun bosses or anything like that I'd discover
That's fair.
out of my exploration. It didn't really feel worthwhile.
That's fair.
Versus Breath of the Wild, where you kind of need to explore. There's a ton of cool stuff to find, and you can actually get anywhere you want to go.
Yeah.
Unlike Elden Ring, where I see, oh, that's a really cool castle up on that peak, but I can't get there unless I look up how to walk around the entire map
Yeah.
to get up this damn cliff.
It's nice too with Breath of the Wild for me because as you were saying, you can get anywhere you want to go, and like that in terms of having an open world, I feel like that adds so much. Just the fact that you can climb, you know,
Yeah.
you can climb,
And
you
you
can get anywhere you
Yeah.
want in that world. And then I actually also had like a pretty authentic experience. Like you were bringing up like how you're online and you know
Yeah.
things. I didn't know anything about Breath of the Wild, and I looked up nothing. And
Nice. You
Yeah.
pretended you were a normal person for a week.
No, I played it for a while. I sunk many hours in that game. That
That's
game is
fair.
fantastic, very engaging. There is a ton of stuff to find. I actually got pretty invested in the story. That was a fun game for me.
Valid.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite games. Like in terms of like
Oh, it's great. It's
a
great.
video game that I paid. Well, I actually borrowed a friend's copy, but like in terms of video games that you would pay like $60 for, in terms of the ones I played, that is my favorite.
Fair and reasonable.
Yeah.
Someone else asked where I think that, what is it, Tears of the Kingdom, where I think that'll rank on a different one.
Mhm.
Not this one, but I'll skip over the later one.
Yep.
I honestly expect it's going to be the best.
That's fair.
I at least hope that the criticisms of Breath of the Wild, chiefly being that there's no real challenge. Oh, you know what? I should qualify my statement. I didn't do the DLC for Breath of the Wild,
Oh, it's
so
okay.
I didn't. Yeah, so I am missing out on significant portions of it. And if I were to go into that and fight like Monk Mask Kosha, which I haven't done,
You should.
I wouldn't be surprised if that elevated my opinion on the game. Because I was about to say that most of the common criticisms of it are that it's too easy. There aren't really like huge challenges in the game at any point. The boss battles just generally kind of suck. Also, they're just duplications of each other. They're all these like phantom Ganons.
They have completely different like fighting styles.
I know, but it would be nice to see things that are more creative and
That's fair.
engaging in their mechanics. Like if you're going to copy a Dark Souls style of fight, you'd think that you could afford us better fights than what those were. Also, the last boss fight is just completely underwhelming in my opinion.
I completely agree, and it's really upsetting because like this. I actually think the first part of it's better than the second part. And the second part where you're just kind of like in a field against this like big pig.
Mm.
And
You
you're
just kind of jump and shoot.
Yeah, but my biggest problem with it is there's this other part of the game that's like an optional part. It's just a shrine where you are like riding the wind to chase this dragon through mountains and like shooting bits on him to like clean him off or something.
Sure.
But you could have done that. Like they should have taken that
They just
mechanic
could have done more.
of that boss fight for Ganon. Like if he was just flying through Hyrule and like you had the stakes of him kind of like raining terror on everything, and you like were riding the wind and had to like shoot your bow in time and do all that like you do with that one dragon through the mountains, and you actually took advantage of like the beautiful scenery of the game during the climactic final battle, that would have been much better in my opinion.
Valid.
Yeah. And it's coded in the game. Like there is a thing that you do that for.
So finishing off the list. Next, I would go with what else have I played? I'd probably go Minish Cap next. Really liked Minish Cap, underrated Zelda game. And then I never actually finished Skyward Sword. I got about 2/3 through it and then stopped playing it. And then it had been years, and I didn't have my save file anymore and didn't want to replay it. So I just kind of watched what happened over the end. So just to be upfront about my perspective there. But I'd put that next. And then I'd put Phantom Hourglass last, although it's still a pretty solid game. I enjoyed playing it. It took me...
Did you play Spirit Tracks?
No, I haven't. There was a point where you have to... it's a DS game. You have to like touch the two sides of the DS together to like copy over a map or something. Mm-hmm. That took me 3 hours to figure out. I was pissed. That was the longest I ever spent on a Zelda puzzle. I was 11 to be fair.
That's not the longest I spent on a Zelda puzzle, and I played Breath of the Wild when I was 19.
Nice. Hell yeah.
The one that's like...
How many clips do you think we have of me just saying hell yeah to you?
Oh, so many. See, it'd be great if we were like a massive channel and like someone was dedicated enough to like do a compilation. That'd be so funny.
You know, there's a small fan base, relatively speaking, but there are some intense fans. It could happen.
People do like us, and we really appreciate you.
Yeah.
I actually enjoy
the core fans
my like
us,
conversations with people like really
100%.
Enjoy your stuff. No, that one where you like go through the maze and you have to like tilt the switch.
Oh yeah,
that took me forever.
Yeah,
you just did it, didn't you?
Yeah. You found out you had to like flip it.
No, you just went through the maze, right?
Yeah, I did.
Like you went through the actual maze and like did that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure that's what you're supposed to do because that makes sense. What I did, I couldn't get through the maze. If you know what I'm talking about, it's like you're kind of like holding the switch and you to like tilt a maze and there's a ball and you're trying to like work it through the maze. What I did, because I couldn't figure out like how to like make that last jump, was I like got it there. So like the end, I like quickly like flipped the whole platform. So then the ball went flying up and I turned it upside down so it was flat on the bottom and had the ball land, and then I just rolled it right into where it was supposed to go. But it took me hours and hours to think of that.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
All right. Have you read Don Quixote? No. Where would Mononoke have ranked in your anime tier list?
I'd probably
What do you think?
In the anime tier list?
I think you have a more coherent perspective on this than me.
Yeah, I'd probably put it C tier, with the caveat that I haven't seen the prequel series. I know you have.
Yeah.
And I imagine that would raise it because it like provides a
Scott,
bit more like perspective to the medicine seller's character.
Oh, you knew it. I was about to ask you his name. He hasn't seen it. I don't remember what the tier list was and what the tiers were. I would guess C tier. It's like
That's what I guess,
pretty
yeah.
good. Yeah. It's pretty good. It is one of the best art styles and visually expressive anime that I've seen. But just the nature of the storytelling being these sort of fractured stories that take place over 1 to 3 episode arcs makes it difficult to have a well-grounded, coherent, thorough sense of development into what it's trying to say.
Yeah.
If the medicine seller was more thoroughly embedded in it, then it could work. We were talking about this one a little bit yesterday. Monogatari kind of does this.
Where, like Aragi's the main character for most of it. Less so in second season, where you're like seeing how everyone reacts without him and like going through their own development in his absence. But like throughout the whole thing, he's not really like active. He's kind of just watching people do their own thing, and like he's interacting with them, but really the people who are like, going through these like emotional conflicts and like reaching any sort of conclusions are all the other people in his life, and he's really just watching it happen or trying to influence it to like steer it in a certain way. He's not like doing it, and it's interesting and how well that works in developing him. It like maintains your interest by like having little arcs that people go through, and like they make progress, and
The Mononoke doesn't really do that so much. Maybe a little.
It seems
bit,
it does that, but like the medicine seller isn't as involved as
he's not.
Araragi, where it's like
he's very emotionally divorced from what's happening.
Yeah, and even in like Aragi's absence through second season, like he's still being developed because we're like contrasting what is happening versus what happened because second season's basically just Bake Monogatari again, just without Araragi.
Yes.
And you see exactly what would happen without him. Yeah. And that develops him. Then he does his own thing, which I think the medicine seller does at the end.
Sure.
I was asking you. I haven't seen that. Okay.
I'm sorry. I was preparing the next question.
Okay.
What did you ask?
Medicine seller does his own thing at the end, right? The last arc's about him, right?
Kind of.
All right, next question.
Okay. How's Monster fallen off for you? For me, I used to have it as my number 4 overall, like a few years ago. So from there, yes, but I still have it as like an 8.5 to a 9. I have Tenma in my top 50 still.
It's valid. It's like an 8 for me. So.
Valid. Best live performers you've seen? I would say the Beatles, Nirvana, and Michael Jackson. What? How about you?
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Word. Which medium would you explore? Which medium would you explore more in the future? What medium are you interested in getting into? What?
Anyway, medium I'm interested in getting into. To be honest, like, I think video games.
That's fair.
Because
I made like a big backlogged, on the website actually. Of shit that I want to get through. I'm a little discouraged. It's tough because like there's so many things that I get discouraged from.
Yeah.
And then video games are also really long, and like not only are they long, but they're very active. They're like de-energizing to me a lot of the time. Like honestly, if Red Dead Redemption 2 was a book, I probably would have done it. It's just it will require me so much effort. Actually, no, it's not true. It's a Western. If I did a 60-hour Cormac McCarthy book, I would jump off this book. I'm not a Cormac McCarthy fan. I'm sorry for any, I guess, more legitimate lit fans than me, but he's not for me.
I guess I'm just interested in Metal Gear Solid and
Metal Gear Solid. You're gonna finally take the bullet on. So like we agree on pretty much everything, but I usually take the hit on something. I'll try it out first and let Scott know if it's good. But he never does that for me.
Whoa!
Sometimes you do, but
this is also your fault. You see, because I'm willing to. Yeah, you're just fast. I'm willing to do it. Like there are things that I am interested in that you haven't done, and then if I do it, then I'll be like, Mark, that was really good.
Yeah.
Or Mark, it was really bad. But usually what happens on those, and I'll tell you exactly what it is I'm like, Mark, I'm interested in doing this. He's like, oh, so am I. How about you do it? Because I always take the bullet on things, and so you can kind of return the favor. I'm like, okay, word. I was planning on doing it anyway, so that's perfect. And so then I start it, and I get a third of the way through. I'm like, Mark, this is pretty good for a third of the way through. And he's like, oh, word. And then he finishes it before I get halfway through. That's what happens every time. And then he goes, yeah, it was bad. And then I just drop it, I guess.
Pretty much. Yeah. So video games. And I'm enjoying exploring books more at the moment, but yeah, I would say video games are mine too.
Yeah.
I'd like to be able to make, not that lists are like my end-all, be-all goal of exploring art mediums, but I would like to be able to make a coherent top 10 video games list based on the narrative. Because I can make one just based on like what I enjoy the most, what's fun. But I like to do one
video games.
Yeah. What is your least and most consistent media? So like what media would you say is the least and the most consistently good?
Oh, like a specific work.
Yeah.
Most consistently good.
From Fata. It depends on if we want to say something that alternates between a 6 to a 10 is the most consistent, or something that's like a consistent 7.
What I was saying, since we were just talking about it, was Monogatari, because
that's fair.
throughout the whole thing,
That's fair.
every 4 episodes, you're getting some sort of climax happening.
Yes.
And so there's some sort of like
You're probably right.
development that is like sustained and reaching some sort of catharsis like every 4 episodes. And yet it still does end up reaching the heights of whatever, really anything.
That's fair. Least consistent?
So,
I
okay.
would probably say Higurashi.
So for least consistent,
Because
right?
it's bad, like 60 hours in.
Yeah, no.
I like Higurashi. It's
So-
good. I have a high score. But.
So my thing is with least consistent, or is this kind of like range, right? Like, is a good work that is bad for a lot of it, like, less consistent?
I think that's what most people would define it as, yeah.
All right, then it's absolutely Umineko. Because it's also bad 60 hours in.
Umineko's our top one.
Yeah, it's the greatest work of fiction
Yeah,
of all
all
time.
time.
Not close. Like, seriously,
It's
not
close,
even
no.
close. And to be fair, with the like it being bad 60 hours, it's like relatively entertaining. It's just kind of like
The problem
we're
is,
not
like, it's
reaching-
good, but you don't know why it's good.
that too.
Because it's
like,
a mystery and it's intentionally not telling you anything.
yeah.
But in terms of how we rate things based on how meaningful it is, it's hard to be meaningful when you don't know anything about what's happening.
So yeah,
On a replay, Umineko would not at all be the least consistent.
absolutely. If you were to replay Umineko, then it is very consistent. Everything at all times is developing towards the larger point, and it is meaningful development that super interesting. Like the moment that you get the moment you get it, right? There is a specific moment where like everything that has come before, not everything, there's a little bit left, but the main stuff like makes sense. You're like, holy crap. This is insane.
I laugh every time I hear the word crap. Just a stupid word.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
But first play, I'd say Umineko, because it's a 0 for like a while, and then it becomes like the greatest work ever. And I was actually seeing a tweet today that was like, it's weird being a fan of Umineko since it was releasing, because still to this day, people are finishing it with the same reaction of, oh my god, this changed my life. And they're like, yeah, so to all the new fans, that obsession you're feeling, yeah, it's not going away.
Nice. Nice. I don't expect it to, no. I saw I don't know if it was a tweet or on Instagram or something that was like, nobody's going to keep the same top 1 for more than like 2 or 3 years because you're constantly changing as a person. That's wrong.
Yeah, I was a little offended by that, both
What's
in
wrong?
like, I fully expect Umineko to be my top 1 for a long time after that. But before that, I had Evangelion as my top 1 for 7 years.
That's fair.
7 years, and I didn't really question it.
Yeah, I kind of just rifled through all of the most acclaimed cathartic art that exists in 3 or 4 years. So my top 1 changed a few times, but not that much.
That's valid.
Yeah. Why aren't you as high on Door 8 and finale of The House of Fata Morgana as other people seem to be? Because it's bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was my answer too.
Yeah, it's bad.
Continue.
It's okay. I think that the conversation we once had where if Door 7 didn't exist, Door 8 and finale would be significantly better than it is an interesting point.
Yeah.
The problem with Door 8 is that it is largely a reiteration of what was already more competently, more thoroughly, and more cathartically expressed in Door 7. It doesn't really add anything. It just presents it in a worse, less explicit way, and people prefer worse, less explicit things sometimes.
Yeah. And I mean, like, it resolves the plot, so all the plot fans, like, that is a better...
Usually I actually
aspect.
explain things, and you say the nonsense version where it refers.
We are.
Yeah.
We are. We're at different levels of hydration. So for the plot fans, yes, obviously Door 8 resolves everything, and then for the like fan service, not like fan service, like no.
People who are like really invested in they're watching this as if it was a rom-com.
Yeah,
then,
or like
okay.
or like the MCU, you know, like
Yeah.
like door 8's the Avengers Endgame for
Yeah,
sure.
yes,
You know,
yes.
door 8's Avengers Endgame,
Yes.
great.
But Door 7 is Infinity War in a world where Thanos is the best character and is right.
I wasn't even gonna go there, but fair enough. If he
Yeah.
was right, I guess
He's not right.
No,
No. In a world where he was.
He's kind of a more like he gets omnipotent.
I don't know if that's the best comparison, actually.
No. I would.
Door 8 doesn't subvert what Door 7 does.
Yeah,
It
what I'd
is
say,
redundant.
what I'd say is door 8 is the Avengers Endgame, and door 7 is better than the MCU.
Yeah.
Door 8 isn't.
I would say Door 8 is better than the MCU. Best live performers you've seen?
You ever seen Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah, that's a good movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright.
Best live performers you've seen? So I got Scott tickets. What? I got Scott tickets to see Kendrick Lamar for his birthday last year, and we went together and saw Kendrick on the Morale tour.
Is everyone else?
That was really
seeing,
great.
Is everyone else seeing what I'm seeing?
Fuck your Shinpachi routine.
Is everyone else seeing what I'm seeing?
No. So Kendrick was really great.
Yeah, Kendrick
I
was
enjoyed that
fantastic.
show a lot. That was my third time. Did we see him at that random
Nope, that must-
Xfinity tour together?
Nope.
You've seen him twice?
I've seen him twice.
I've seen him 3 times. The second one I was too fucked up to really retain much.
I saw him on the Damn tour and I saw him on the Morale tour. Both were fantastic. It was a little interesting because I think the Morale tour was better. He was playing better songs.
Yeah.
It was a little weird on the Damn tour because it was the first time I saw him and I was just like, oh my god, I'm in the same room as you, and just started tearing up. I'm like, that was nice.
That's cute.
Yeah.
He also had Travis opening for him, which is
That was cool.
hilarious because that just wouldn't happen nowadays.
No.
Travis opening for Kendrick,
Yeah.
But-
Travis also rode a bird around.
which was sick.
That
Yeah,
was
his
sick.
stage production was really good.
Yeah. And then my other picks.
It felt like a little more of a joint tour than usually what it is. Like I
Yeah.
feel like their sets were comparable in production and length.
Yeah, which is annoying because why didn't they Travis did Goosebumps without Kendrick?
Yeah.
When Kendrick was
Was there.
8 feet away.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just
that
assumed
bothered me.
he'd come out during Goosebumps.
Yeah, that was annoying.
Missed opportunity.
But my other picks in terms of concerts that actually we both went to both. I thought that Metallica and Radiohead both did well.
Oh yeah,
So
I agree.
that-
Like in terms of the actual performance and
Mm.
how the music
Mm.
that they're performing sounded, it was really good.
I like-
I also like that people sat during Radiohead.
Oh,
Yeah, they actually sat and listened to the music instead of standing up and fist pumping to fucking Radiohead,
yeah.
which I expected them to do, despite it being Radiohead.
Yeah. I actually I had a weird. I was very young when I saw it, but I did see Roger Waters' The Wall tour where he did the whole album and he built the wall out of
That's cool.
screens.
We saw
that
him
were-
front row
We did,
too,
that was cool.
later in life, and
Yeah.
I fist bumped him. Did you?
I did not. I didn't
Yes.
I didn't know
Touch
what was
Roger
going on.
Waters. Yeah,
But
I guess
yeah.
he's the best artist I've made physical contact with.
That's valid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. I wish I was older when I saw the Wall tour because he does the whole album. He builds the wall out of bricks that are screens and has different things
That's pretty
spraying
sick.
throughout
That's
it.
pretty sick.
And he just does the whole thing.
Yeah.
I think if I saw that more recently, it would have been a bigger favorite.
Fair and reasonable.
Yeah. Also weird memories. But anyway,
That's fair.
moving on.
You didn't like when we saw Michael Jackson? Next up, cat or dog?
I prefer when we saw the Beatles actually.
Fair.
Yeah.
We grew up between our 2 parents' houses, our 2 biological parents' houses. We have 6 cats. We've never owned a dog except for when my dad had a girlfriend who had a dog that sucked. So we're cat people. But I adamantly believe that whether you're a cat or a dog person is just whatever you grew up with. And anyone who says differently is crazy.
I think that if you hate cats and love dogs, then you kind of have issues.
Yeah?
All right, so here's my take.
You don't like your own company?
So here's my take. If a cat doesn't like you, it's because you're not respecting its boundaries.
Sure.
And then dogs don't respect my boundaries. So there's a hierarchy to me.
Okay.
And it's cats most need their boundaries respected.
You're politicizing cats and dogs?
No, this is just my own
It
personal.
is kind of political.
This is my own personal element.
Cats are definitely left-leaning and dogs are right-leaning.
Yeah. This is my own.
When I was interviewing for pledging,
Yeah.
I asked, in one of my questions, I just asked if they were left-leaning or right-leaning, and one of the guys just got really offended and confused Yeah. And I'm like, what? And he goes, like, your politics. Just, oh, I thought you were talking about my dick. What? Why would I ask you that? I don't care.
But cats most need their boundaries respected. Then I need my boundaries respected than dogs, because like dogs just kind of like don't respect my boundaries, so I have issues.
Nice.
Yeah.
Top books for beginners to get into Ulysses, the Brothers Karamazov, etc.
I'd go with Finnegan's Wake. Then
That's a good starter pick.
Yeah, then Percy Jackson.
And a lightning thief?
Yeah.
Might be a little tougher.
A little bit. And then sleeper pick, right? Sleeper pick?
Yep.
I'm gonna go with yeah.
The autobiography of John Lennon.
Yeah, that.
No, serious answer. Honestly, if these are the paths you want to go down, you want to get into Joyce and Dostoevsky, just start with Joyce and Dostoevsky. Just read A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. It's an entirely accessible book. You can just read it. That's sick. You can just read it as your first book. It'll be like a little challenging, but it's not much more challenging than a typical book that you'd read in high school. And then if you want to get into Dostoevsky, just read Crime and Punishment. I generally will recommend to people, if you're going to start getting into literature, start with Slaughterhouse-Five. It's short, it's really good, it's entertaining. But second, I usually say Crime and Punishment. So just, if you want to get into those two authors specifically, which are great picks, then just do Portrait of the Artist Young Man and Crime and Punishment.
I agree.
Nice.
Actually, I'd probably recommend Notes from the Underground over Crime and Punishment. But
Would you?
Yeah, only
Because it's funnier?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
way funnier, especially if you're a Seinfeld fan. Just like imagine when you're reading Notes from the Underground, just imagine every single scene as George Costanza and with like every like stupid thing the Underground Man does. Just like hear that bass line. It's great. Like I spent like an hour and a half listening to the Underground Man talking about how like this dude who like is at a higher social standing than him keeps bumping into him on the street, and then he's like devising this like long intricate plan so that like he's the one who bumps into him, and then that'll show him, and then like finally you're like getting this like, it's sort of like similar to like almost like a heist movie where like you're going through the like cinema du process almost, you know.
Cinema du process.
Yeah, and then you go through it. Yeah, and then you go through it, and like he's hitting his plan. He's doing it. He's really succeeding. He's ready to like completely vindicate himself by like bumping into this dude instead of being bumped into. And then he does, and he gets knocked over. And I could not just. I had to hear.
That's so valid.
That's it.
It's valid.
Yeah, do Notes from the Underground. It's the funniest thing I've ever read in my life.
Cool. Which artist is most likely to drop some of the best art ever in the near future? I mean, Keiken Hanada and Rikishi are both making new games, and they're both really good and do good stuff. So them, Father John Misty seems like he's building up a new phase of his career, and he's typically pretty damn great. Joanna Newsom just debuted some new music in a Fleet Foxes concert, which is so sick. I really just want her and Robin to have a baby, even though like she's married to Andy Samberg and all, but like they can just like haul past it, just for the good of humanity.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, as long as Andy Samberg's okay with it and all that, but right?
I think you should write to him.
I should. Yeah.
You should ask him.
Yes.
Yeah.
They could do like in vitro. They don't have to like have sex to have a baby.
Sure.
Yeah. I just think it would be good for the good of humanity. I really do.
All right.
Who else?
Are you trying
Music somebody.
to imply that Fleet Foxes is a better musical effort than The Lonely Island?
Of course not. But they don't seem like they're having children who have had anything of note artistically yet. I don't know.
How old are they? If they have children, they're probably not that old.
Yeah, but like if you're the child of Joanna Newsom and Andy Samberg, I have high expectations for you.
Okay.
And you should be making something pretty young.
That's okay.
Fair enough. What are some precise moments in media that had the biggest effect on you? We'll throw a list. So let's see. Ange talks to Beatrice.
Yeah.
Shinji gets drawn in some cool pencil stuff and then sits in a chair.
People clap.
People clap.
See, Shinji thought about things, and then everybody clapped.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else?
Utena
reaches out to Anthony.
She a little bit after that.
You go after that?
A little bit after that. Utena is like looking at some swords and is like, I'm trying to do this without spoilers. When she's looking at the storm of swords.
I thought that was before.
I don't think so.
You sure?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay, I don't know, but word. I was thinking that was after, but the logistics of this changed a little bit, but this is within 3 minutes of each other anyway, so it's really not.
Yeah.
Let's see. Masashi asks for some help. Michelle gets a hug.
Yeah.
Elena Greco receives a package.
Really?
She receives a package.
Really?
She does. She receives a package.
That's interesting.
It is interesting, yeah. Let's see. Aragi discusses some stuff with Ogi.
Yeah. Discusses.
We'll cut it off there. We'll cut it off there. Yeah.
Wait, can we say
Just some buff grave.
Akari goes downstairs?
She goes downstairs, yeah. Vazker thinks about some stuff, makes a decision.
Whoa.
Yeah.
If we wanted to just say our top character lists and say X thinks about some stuff and makes a decision, that's all of
that is pretty much all of it. All right. So we'll get to less heady nonsense now. Favorite comedy characters. You want me to start and you can fill in? So I imagine we'll cross over a bit. I mean, my favorite is Archer, Sterling Archer from Archer by a lot because I like that show way more than I probably should. Archer versus BoJack as my favorite non-anime show is a competition in my mind, which completely undermines everything that I think and say about Archer.
Yes, it does.
But I just really like Archer. But the whole thing is things that leave a lasting impact on you. But I watch all of Archer once a month. I've seen it 15 times now. It's genuinely disgusting.
That's fair. If you do want to say a favorite comedy character, would you say BoJack? If we're looking at
sure, but not based on the comedy. I don't love the comedy of BoJack that much.
Yes, you do.
You
quote it all the time.
Yes, I do. I think in BoJack quotes, but I did not laugh once the entire first time watching the show. Now on watch 11, I laugh at everything.
Well, it's time with LCL.
Sure.
Because that show was not funny the
That's
first
fair.
time,
Yes,
and then now I'm like,
yeah. His head has a boner.
Yeah, that's a start.
Let's see. Noho Hank from Barry is probably actually the funniest character I've ever seen. Abed from Community.
Yeah.
Right. Dennis Reynolds.
Yeah.
I
I like George Costanza. You're not a Seinfeld
I'm not a
fan, but
Seinfeld
George
guy.
Costanza is.
But I've seen
fantastic.
6 episodes of Seinfeld. You've seen the whole show.
I have seen the whole show, and George Costanza is fantastic. He's the most relatable, but in the worst way. I'm not saying I am George Costanza, but if I want to say my
You were terrified that part of you might be George Costanza?
yeah,
Nice.
and not even I know part of me is George Costanza.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like my Jungian shadow.
Nice. George Costanza.
Yeah.
Not Pun Pun or something. George Costanza.
George Costanza is my
That's fair.
Jungian shadow
Jungian
for
shadow.
sure.
Okay. Anyone else we want to mention?
For comic
I
characters,
love Borat. I adore Borat. I mean, I grew up on Borat. I watched Borat for the first time when I was 12 and laughed the entire time. Of course, Borat's horrible and racist and all that, but that's the point, and it's meant to be a subversion of that.
Yeah.
The movie is not horrible and racist.
That's valid.
The movie's point is that all the people it's making fun of are horrible and racist.
That's right. Yes, it is.
Yes.
For sure.